Mansukhani from Kolkata. I am a teacher of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and today we will be discussing about Nirbhija Samadhi and Sabhija Samadhi. We had seen both these terms a few days back. I had called Nirbhija Samadhi as Asamprakrita Samadhi and Sabhija Samadhi as Samprakrita Samadhi. So, what do I mean by Nirbhij and Sabhij? Sabhij Samadhi, friends, is in which there is a seed, the seed of sanskaras being formed. And Nirbhij Samadhi is a samadhi where the mind is not present. So no mental impressions, no sanskaras can be formed. What is the goal of samadhi? What is the goal of yoga? The goal of samadhi is to reach a state of complete absorption of the mind so that there is virtually no mind left. And yoga is also called as samadhi. So yoga is a means of reaching samadhi through intense concentration. And out of these two, Sabhija Samadhi, as I said earlier, is a samadhi with the seed, the mind present, and Nirbhija Samadhi is the samadhi without the seed. So here the mind is not present, so no mental impressions, no sanskaras are formed. Let us go into a bit of detail of the various stages of samadhi so that you have a far better and clearer understanding. And when you are actually practicing meditation, you will get to know in what state of meditation you truly are and what is going to be the next step. So in progression, there are essentially 7 stages of samadhi. The first stage of samadhi is called Vitarka Samadhi. This can be easily understood as a samadhi where we have a physical awareness of the object we have focused our minds on. And here there are 2 states. One is called Savitarka Samadhi and the other is called Nirvitarka Samadhi. When one is in a state of Savitarka Samadhi, here there are 3 entities present. 1, the name of the object being meditated upon. 2, the object. And 3, the description of the object. So all these 3 are present in the mind of the yogi. And this leads to some confusion in the mind between the name, between the object, and between the description of the object. The next stage of samadhi which happens as you proceed further and are able to resolve this, then one finds the stage of samadhi which we enter into is called Nirvitarka Samadhi. In the Nirvitarka Samadhi, there is no confusion in the mind. The object is seen as it is in a particular state. So the name of the object disappears, the description of the object disappears, and the mind is clearly specifically focusing on the particular aspect of the object. So this is Nirvitarka Samadhi. And these 2 together, Savitarka and Nivitarka, constitute the samadhi where physical awareness of the object is present. The 3rd and the 4th state of samadhis, they are connected with the state of mental awareness. In the 3rd state of samadhi, the mental awareness is about the subtle elements, the subtle powers of that object, not the gross elements of the object, not the physical aspects of the object, but the subtle aspects of the object. They are also called the tanmatras. So that is Savichara Samadhi. In Nirvichara Samadhi, the yogi goes deeper than the tanmatras. Tanmatras are present in the space and time domain. But now when a yogi goes deeper in the Nirbhija Samadhi, then he is able to see the object not as a thought, not as tanmatras, but as an energy field spread out over all time and spread out in all space. So it is just a field of energy which is now perceived by the yogi in the Nirbhija Samadhi. The fifth state of Samadhi, as we had discussed earlier, is the bliss awareness Samadhi. It is also called the Ananda state of Samadhi. Here the mind is completely at peace. Here the mind is in a blissful state of extreme happiness. And this Ananda Samadhi, Ananda state of Samadhi happens as the mind has become immensely sattvic in nature. Sattva represents happiness. Sattva represents goodness. So the commentators say in bliss awareness, the mind reaches a high sattvic state. The mind operates from the buddhi stage. The sixth state of Samadhi is called the Asmita Samadhi, or the I am awareness kind of Samadhi, where the yogi, the meditator, is aware about himself. He is in the I am awareness. So he has crossed the first levels of the physical awareness. He has crossed the first levels of the mental awareness. He has crossed the level of the bliss in awareness. And now he is only in a way seeing himself as an I, and there is an I amness feeling out here. All these stages, these first 6 stages of Samadhi, are Sabhija Samadhi. Here an element of the mind is present, and whatever is happening in this Samadhi is recorded and stored as a vritti, as a sanskara in the chitta. So the recordings are present, and then a person comes out of this kind of a Samadhi. He remembers what he has experienced, and he is connected to the reality outside. His chitta is recording vrittis and sanskaras, and new karmas are being formed. New karmic activity is on. So these are called Sabhija Samadhis. The bija here represents the sanskara which is getting formed, the memory which is getting formed. But the goal of a yogi is just not this. The goal of a yogi is far higher. He would like to venture into the Nirbhija Samadhi. Now, what is the Nirbhija Samadhi? As I told you, there is no mind. And because there is no mind, no sanskaras can be recorded, no memory is possible, no vrittis, no thoughts, no ideas get formed. And there is no way a yogi can connect to the reality. He is completely cut off from Prakriti in all its elements, the gross elements and the subtle elements. So the question is, what happens to a yogi in the state of Nirbhija Samadhi? Number 1, the yogi forgets who he is. Number 2, the yogi forgets the object, the name of the object he was focusing on. Number 3, the yogi forgets the description of the object. Number 4, the yogi forgets the space he was in. And number 5, the yogi forgets the time he was in. So all aspects of the mind have now disappeared. And the yogi has lost all touch with the outside reality. The yogi has lost all touch with Prakriti. His chitta is not performing any function. So the chitta virtually is not existing. So this yogi is there, but he is not connected to reality. So what is he connected to? If he is not seeing Prakriti, if he is not connected to Prakriti, sensing Prakriti, then what is he seeing? What is he perceiving? What is he experiencing? A yogi in such a state is experiencing his own Purusha, his own Atma. This is the state of self-realization. This is the state of Atma Sakshatkar. This is the state where the yogi is self-aware. He is in a state where he is able to see his Swarupa, his own self, and he becomes immersed in that. And Prakriti has no meaning for him. He is completely cut off in all ways, all respects from this Prakriti. So that is Nirbhija Samadhi for me. Let us see when the mind gets completely absorbed in the object, then what happens to this mind? And what is this process actually called by Patanjali in his Yoga Sutras? Patanjali uses a term called Samapati. Samapati means complete absorption of the mind, when there are no vrittis. And here the mind behaves like a transparent jewel, like a transparent crystal. And whatever object is placed in front of it, the mind takes up the form of that object. So you can consider a mind in such a pure state, in such a sattvic state, free from rajas and tamas, to be like a transparent crystal. And when you place a red flower in front of it, it takes up the redness of that flower. And not only that, when we are presenting the object, it takes up the shape of the object. When we are presenting the sense organs through which the object is being perceived, it takes up the form of the sense organs. And when we put the knower, the part of the mind which is actually seeing their whole process, then it takes up the form of that mind. And what happens here is something which is phenomenal. The mind reaches a state where it can now get into the innermost details of the object. It is able to sense the object from the innermost powers. It is able to gain insight into various essential aspects of the object. In fact, it takes up the whole form of the object. And then a yogi in such a state of complete mind absorption can play around with that object. He can change the gunas of Prakriti in that object. We know there are three gunas, Rajas, Sattva and Tamas. And these three gunas are present in all Prakriti. A yogi is in total absorption of an object, and the object is there. Then he can play around with that object. He can change the character of the object. He can change the time in which the object is present. He can change the condition of the object. And that is how yogis achieve their siddhis. So this is the science behind the power of siddhis. When the mind becomes completely pure, absolutely pure, then it starts behaving like a mirror. And the Purusha, the Atma, is able to see itself in this reflective nature of the mind and gets a glimpse of who it truly is. We have seen the different kinds of samadhis like Savitark, Nirvitark, Savichar, Nirvichar, even the Ananda and the Asmita. Now let us see what happens when we are migrating from the Sabhija Samadhi, which is the Samadhi which is in the initial stages of meditation, which has the sanskaras being formed in it, where memories are present and where karmic account is still happening. So here in Sabhija Samadhi, when a yogi practices extreme faith, then he is able to move on his journey. And with faith, with that commitment on reaching Nirbhija Samadhi, he acquires a tremendous flow of energy. This energy is called virya, vigor in him. And this energy takes him on, further on the path. And when he has remembered the various steps in his meditational technique, which he has to follow to move from Sabhija Samadhi to Nirbhija Samadhi. Then he finds that memory helps him and he reaches a state of total absorption of the mind. And when he reaches a state of the total absorption of the mind, he finds insight coming to him. He finds the power of discrimination coming to him. And now the yogi becomes ready to enter into those higher states of Nirbhija Samadhi. The first thing which happens to him when he proceeds on this path is he gets entire clarity about his inner self. A yogi starts knowing who he is, what he is, where he is, what is his life purpose. Everything becomes neat, clean, clear to him. And this clarity helps him further in his power of samadhi, and it helps him to move ahead on the path. When he is moving further, there are certain new kinds of sanskaras which start forming inside a yogi's mind. These sanskaras are called truth-bearing sanskaras. These sanskaras are called Ratambara sanskaras. These sanskaras guide a yogi about the absolute truth of existence. They are not the truth of the world. The truth of the world is called Satya. But the truth of the universe, truth of existence, truth of this creation, which is normally not accessible to normal human beings. The access is only open to yogis when they enter into samadhi. So these are called Ratambara sanskaras, truth-bearing wisdom sanskaras. Here pragya starts, here intuition starts, here wisdom starts from beyond the normal horizons of knowledge and wisdom. A yogi starts getting mystical knowledge beyond the nature, which is supernatural knowledge. And this mystical knowledge, this supernatural knowledge gives him mystical powers, supernatural powers. And that is how siddhis start coming into a yogi. They are a part of the journey. As you practice meditation, as you reach the higher stages, as you move from Sabhija Samadhi to Nirbhija Samadhi, you will find on the path pragya happening, pratibha happening, intuition, insight, sixth sense. All of these unique, extraordinary properties start opening up. And once they start opening up, then the door to enormous amount of siddhis open up for a yogi. And these siddhis then can be custom designed by a yogi. Once the knowledge flows, once pragya flows, then a yogi can figure out what powers to go in for, what siddhis to acquire, what changes to bring about in his society, in the world nearby, if he wishes to. If he does not wish to, then he moves further on this path towards Kevalya. But if he wishes to, then he can exercise that power for the benefit of mankind. You see, when seedless samadhi starts happening, then the focus shifts completely to that object on which the meditator is meditating. It is the particular original aspect of that object which is playing the role now. The description of the object, the name of the object, and other paraphernalia about that object, all other stories about the object no longer count. Only what counts is that object and its direct perception by the yogi. What the estimates are, what the assumptions are, no longer matter. What the inferences are being made by the yogi no longer matter. What the scriptures have said, what the wise sages and the munis have said no longer matter. All that matters to the yogi is the direct experience. So Nirbhija Samadhi is full of direct experience. Now here something very interesting happens. Let us look at the sequence of what all starts happening as we move towards Nirbhija Samadhi. Number one, as I said, these Ritambara sanskaras start, the truth-bearing sanskaras start. and they start blocking all other conventional sanskaras. So all other thoughts, all other ideas which normally come in our minds, they are put to a stop by these truth-bearing sanskaras, by these Ratambara sanskaras. And as this process is on, another new development takes place. There are further sanskaras which are beneficial sanskaras. These are beneficial sanskaras to the yogi. So these sanskaras give the power of discrimination, of vivek, and the power of pragya to the yogi. And they again start blocking the conventional sanskaras, the normal ideas, the normal thoughts which keep on happening in our minds. So they also start blocking those unwanted sanskaras. And not only this, these wisdom and discrimination based sanskaras, they also have the power to eliminate all the unmanifest karma of a yogi, all the sleeping dormant karma of a yogi. Now the yogi becomes free of the karmas of the past, of the karmas which are sleeping inside. But he is still carrying with his present karma, which has become manifested in this current life. Now these karmas too get terminated when he moves into the Nirbhija Samadhi, into the final state of Samadhi. So we see that when you are moving into Samadhi, we find the sanskaras are stopping, the karmas are stopping, the vrittis are stopping, because nirodh, sanskaras which are opposing these normal sanskaras are taking birth, are coming in form. So first the truth-bearing sanskaras have come, then the beneficial sanskaras imparting wisdom and the power of discrimination have come, and then they start getting themselves terminated, because now the final sanskaras of Nirodha, they start manifesting, they start coming up in power, and they put a stop, they put a halt to all other forms of sanskaras, including the truth-bearing sanskaras and the beneficial sanskaras of wisdom and discrimination. So you see, it is all a regular flow of sanskaras, all a regular flow of psychic impressions in the chitta, which is coming and going and which is changing the state of the mind. And the mind is slowly and steadily losing towards Nirbhija. We will find in a short while that the mind will totally disappear. There will be no presence of mind. So in the final stage, the present karmas of a yogi, which have got manifested of this life, they also get eliminated, they also get disappeared, they also disappear. And since the Nirodha sanskaras are the final sanskaras, they are the ultimate sanskaras, and we had seen that the definition of yoga is yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So that nirodha of the vrittis in the chitta is done by the Nirodha sanskaras towards the very end. And when that finally happens, now the yogi has lost all contact, all touch, all connection with Prakriti. He has no connection with the external reality now. And he has no connection with the gross aspects, that is the Panch Mahabhuta of existence. And he has no connection with the subtle elements, with the tanmatras also. He is completely cut off. He does not even know, as I told you, he does not even know who he is, what is his name, where he is, what is he doing, what is the object the name of the object he was meditating upon, description of the object, the time and space he is in. There is no trace, no element of the mind at all. And when all that disappears, all that a yogi is aware about or can be aware about in such a situation is only the Purusha, is only his own true self. Now he sees his Swarupa. He sees his Swarupa because all the vrittis have stopped. the chitta vrittis have been completely nirodh. So now absolute yoga has taken place. By the definition of yoga, chitta vritti nirodha, when the chitta vritti nirodha is complete, all that is left is yoga. All that is left is the final ultimate state. This is the ultimate state of samadhi. In this state, the chitta, the mahat, the prakriti, they are all completely decoupled now. And now no object can cause any sanskaric seed on the chitta. Why it cannot cause any sanskaric seed? Because that object has no way of connecting with the chitta. That connection is completely broken. So dear friends, this is an interesting aspect. Yoga is a science of the mind, to eliminate the mind with the mind. That is the beauty of Patanjali Yoga, where he says the vrittis of the mind, the fluctuations and the states of the mind can only be controlled by concentration of the mind. And then he says concentration of the mind leads to dhyana. Dhyana, the mind becomes one-pointed. And when the mind is one-pointed, sanskaras are being formed because the mind is there. But as the one-pointed of the mind becomes sharp and sharper, that point becomes so small that it virtually disappears. And when that mind virtually disappears, then there is no way that the objects can be remembered, the sanskaras can be formed. There is complete cutoff between a yogi and his outer creation and the outer world and the outer reality. This is the ultimate state of yoga. This is the ultimate and the highest state of samadhi. And this is the state where a yogi gets to see himself as if he's seeing himself in a mirror. When I say himself, I mean his Purusha, his Atma, his pure consciousness. And this is what is called self-realization, Atma Darshan. So dear friends, this journey is a journey of 7 states of Samadhi. And these 7 states begin with the 6 states of Sabhija Samadhi, where the mind is there, and culminates in the 7th stage of Nirbhija Samadhi, when the mind is not there. These 6 states of Sabhija Samadhi are Savitark Samadhi, Nirvitark Samadhi, Savichar Samadhi, Nirvichar Samadhi, Ananda Samadhi, Asmita Samadhi, and then the final ultimate Nirbhija Samadhi. This journey can be done by anyone. All that Patanjali says is you have to do practice of concentration for long periods of time without interruption, with good amount of devotion. That is all it takes. Devotion, long periods of practice without interruption. And the question which anyone can ask is what benefit you derive when you reach the highest state of Samadhi. When you reach the highest state of Samadhi, you are completely free from the vagaries, the fluctuations of Prakriti. There is no sorrow whatsoever. And on this journey, one acquires tremendous amounts of mystical powers and supernatural powers. And before that, the mind achieves such a level of clarity and I would say stillness, that all life becomes a journey of, I would say, supreme quality, and your contribution to society can reach the highest levels possible. So dear friends, success in life depends on the concentration ability you have acquired. And yoga, Patanjali Yoga, is a science of the mind which teaches you how to achieve the highest of the highest levels of concentration. So for success in the outer world and for success in the inner world, in both the places, in both the worlds, concentration is the key. So we have seen these 7 milestones, 7 important points in the journey of concentration. I hope you have learned tremendously from today's talk, and I'm sure you will be able to achieve permanent happiness out of this knowledge. And this permanent happiness will go into your family members too. And not only that, you will be able to contribute to the upliftment of your society, to the country you belong to, and to this world at large. Thanking you once again for your presence here. God bless you. May you achieve all that you dream and desire for, and may the high concentration you achieve through this yogic practice take you higher and higher in life. Thank you so much. God bless each one of you. See you tomorrow, same time at 7 a.m. We will be continuing with the sadhana yoga, the practice of yoga, and how to reach the highest levels as suggested by Patanjali in this Ashtanga Yoga and Kriya Yoga. Thank you so much once again. God bless you. See you tomorrow.